Chile is commemorating the 50th anniversary of its military coup at a time of deep social and political polarization. The country has been unable to reach a consensus regarding the crimes against humanity committed in the past, and hopes to do so are slim. Where does Chile stand 50 years after the coup? We bring you an exclusive interview with the President of Chile, Mr. Gabriel Boric. President Boric, thank you for speaking with us.
Jenny, it's an honor. My greetings as well to the German people.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Chile has probably never had a president who so aggressively defends the late President Salvador Allende. Today, 50 years after the coup, what would you say to him?
First of all, I would thank him for his commitment, his democratic path, his courage and his sacrifice. And I would tell him that we are working hard to follow in his footsteps, hoping to continue opening great avenues again, where free men and women can walk together to build a better society.
This commemoration is marked by new information about the role the government of the United States played in the coup. How far is your government willing to go to dig up all the files from that time?
I think there have been some positive signs lately. The US ambassador to Chile has been very open to it. Some documents have already been declassified, and I believe that the position of the United States today is clear when it comes to condemning what happened. However, we can always do more. The Nixon administration at the time made every possible effort, and this is all documented, first to prevent President Allende from taking office, and then to hinder and create the conditions of chaos that allowed for the coup.
There are reports that point to a collaboration between the German intelligence service of the time and Pinochet's dictatorship. Then there are the arms shipments to the former German colony in Chile, Colonia Dignidad, the disappeared detainees, the documented abuses. Will you ask the German government for those files, and will you talk with Germany about its role?
I have talked about this with Chancellor Scholz the few times I have met him. From what I have seen, I think he is keen to collaborate in everything related to the investigation and recognition of what happened in Colonia Dignidad. In the past few days, there have been new reports about the collaboration of the Federal Republic of Germany and the regime, but I don't have enough information to make a categorical statement on this subject. We will, of course, ask for all the information available.
More than 6 years of work between Germany and Chile. Experts, lawmakers, what else is needed to install plaques in memory of the victims of Colonia Dignidad?
I would say nothing else is needed, just a bit of willpower. It is on the agenda of the Joint Commission. It has already achieved a lot, but I think more can still be done. What is clear to us is that there are still many dark elements around, even 50 years after the breakdown of democracy in Chile. We will therefore continue to fight for truth and for justice.
You invited the Chilean political parties to join the Pact for Freedom, but you didn't succeed. Right-wing parties have so far declined to join. The only one who answered your call was former President Sebastián Piñera. There used to be some sort of democratic consensus that today seems to be fading away. My question is, how did we get here? Did your own side play a role in these divisions as well?
We continue to have differences as to why this institutional breakdown is taking place. And I note with concern that there are many right-wing leaders who insist on the idea that without Allende, there would have been no Pinochet. When you think about what that means, it is very worrying. It means that should there be another constitutional government that they do not like and a climate of polarization and political difficulties, then the answer to that is a coup d'etat and a dictatorship. So I emphatically say no to that, and that is why I thought it was important to invite all the political parties to sign a commitment to democracy, regardless of our divergent views of the past. And I value the willingness of former Presidents Eduardo Frei Ruiz-Tagle, Ricardo Lagos Escobar, Sebastián Piñera Echenique, and Michelle Bachelet Jeria to issue a joint statement with me. I think this sends a message to future generations. And despite all the bickering these days, I think that commitment is what is going to stay in the end.
The Communist Party, a coalition partner in your government, or some of its members, claim that these commitments after 50 years are not enough. Will the slogan of your election campaign, "Never Again," have to wait?
Indeed, they are minimal. I hope Chilean society agrees with me when I say that we will always solve the problems of democracy with more democracy and not less, and that nothing will ever justify the violation of human rights of those who think differently. Every political party and every coalition can make its own statement, and that is good. But what is valuable in a statement is not only its content, it is also the political backgrounds of those who make it. So for me, this joint statement by all the former presidents and myself is very valuable because of this cross-party agreement. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the rest of the political parties involved. The right-wing parties did not want to join. Each one of them presented its own statement, which of course will have to be looked at individually, and history will judge them accordingly.
Mr. President, the world is seeing a rise in what the international media calls ultra-conservatism. In the early years of your career, you were known for using irreverent politics to respond to your critics. Today, as the President of Chile, what do you think is the answer to this ultra-conservative phenomena? Is the answer more political sectarianism, more left-wing sectarianism, or centrism?
I don't think any of those are the right alternatives. For me, politics is not a game of arithmetic. I believe that democracy, in order to be strengthened and to take care of itself, has to know how to respond. And we have to commit to responding to the needs of our citizens. In Chile, we've been waiting 10 years for a pension reform. Not only do pensions not go up, but the trust Chileans have in democracy as a mechanism for solving their problems is weakened. Democracy, from my point of view, is an end in itself, and we have to be looking after it constantly, watering it, caring for it. Democracy, as you say, is based on consensus. The art of politics, the art of fair policies, is to reach agreements among those who think differently for the sake of a shared common good. And when societies become polarized, that shared common good can seem distant. But as President of the Republic, I'm going to make every effort in my power to find those common points in Chilean society.
A new poll this week showed that around 40% of Chileans believe that a coup d'etat could be repeated in Chile. You have described a blockade by the opposition. Do you fear there may be a plan in the works to overthrow you or your government?
No, it would be irresponsible of me to say so. I believe that the opposition is playing a role, which has indeed resulted in a blockage to certain reforms. But it is part of how democracy works, and it is up to us to seek and explore new ways of reaching agreements on such important issues as the fiscal pact or our pensions. But we have made progress on other issues, for instance on mining royalties or the reduction of working time to 40 hours per week. I am now certain that the armed forces are not looking to engage in any kind of adventure and that they're steadfast constitutionalists and respectful of the Constitution and the rule of law.
Does Chile have a healthy democracy?
Chilean democracy is a democracy that is still under construction. I would not say that there is a moment when democracies are fully consolidated, because societies change, and with change come new challenges. The inclusion of the feminist movement in our society, for example, has been very organic, given the way politics was understood until 10 years ago. The old idea of infinite development at any cost is not only being questioned today, it is seen as something that could endanger the very survival of humanity. So democracies are constantly perfecting themselves. I would say Chile is a country with solid institutions that are here to stay and that we will continue to take care of. And I'm proud of this.
What can the history of the Chilean dictatorship teach other dictatorships in Latin America?
You will win, but you will not convince. As Spanish author Miguel Unamuno said about fascism, I believe that the power of arms is very meager. It vanishes with time. Bodies can disappear, people can be murdered, comrades can be tortured, but the dignity of those who fell and those who fight for a free country always ends up prevailing. And this is valid for the history of Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, and so many other Latin American dictatorships, or for the world.
And the dictatorships in Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, you have criticized these autocracies as well as the war in Ukraine. That has a political cost, a cost in foreign capital. Are you afraid of being isolated? We saw what happened at the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States. President Lula, for instance, was not comfortable with your remarks.
I have no fear. I am convinced that in terms of human rights, we must have a single standard, both from the historical point of view and from a whole of society point of view. And therefore we cannot go around choosing which autocracies we like and which we don't like. If we value and defend democracy, and in particular the universal respect for human rights, as an advance of humanity, we have to defend it from the left, from the center, from the right, whether we're red or blue. And I will stay firm on this, no matter who it bothers.
And one last question. How much is left of the young Gabriel Boric, who wanted to change everything? How much is left of him in President Gabriel Boric?
Assuming office as President of Chile means you have to adapt when it comes to certain things. You are ruling over an entire country, and therefore you represent the whole of Chilean society, those who voted for you and those who did not. But my longing for social justice, for social transformation, for progress towards a fairer distribution of wealth, towards a total end to discrimination against women and sexual diversity, towards a development that is just and integral, remains intact. And I continue to be a person with left-wing convictions who believes that it is necessary to continue rethinking and reinventing in order to serve the majorities of this world. Because today these ideas are under siege, and we must not only embrace them along with those who are already convinced, but go beyond our circles of trust.
President Gabriel Boric, many thanks.
Thank you.